Commander Zyra Dex staggered through the burning wreckage of the diplomatic vessel Celestial Dawn, her silver skin stained with ash and blood. The emergency lights cast an eerie red glow across the destruction, highlighting the bodies of her fallen crew. She was the last one left, the last officer, the last survivor. "Computer status report," she wheezed, pressing her hand against a wound in her side. The crystalline blood seeping between her fingers glowed faintly in the darkness. "Hull integrity at 12%. Life support failing. Estimated system failure in 3 hours," the ship's AI responded, its voice breaking with static. "Warning, reactor containment destabilizing." Zyra reached the bridge, using her command codes to seal the doors behind her. The once pristine command center was now a graveyard of shattered screens and sparking consoles. Through the cracked view screen, she could see the debris field that had once been her escort ships, now nothing more than glittering fragments against the void. "Play back the attack sequence," she ordered, collapsing into the captain's chair. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the moment everything went wrong. The diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim colonies had been routine until their own defense fleet opened fire on them without warning. "Analyzing weapons signatures," the computer announced. "Confirmed, attacks originated from Vanguard-class vessels of the Nexian Defense Force." Zyra's heart grew cold. Her own people had done this. The same government she had served faithfully for 20 years had ordered her death and the death of everyone aboard. But why? What had the diplomatic team discovered that was worth killing for? She pulled up the encrypted files. They'd been transporting evidence of something the exploration team had found in the Outer Rim. The files were corrupted now, but one image remained clear: ancient ruins bearing impossible markings. Human markings. "That's why they wanted us dead," she whispered. "We found proof they lied about the humans." For generations, the Nexian Empire had maintained that they had defeated the hostile human forces centuries ago, driving them to extinction. The truth in those ruins told a different story, one that could shatter the Empire's authority if revealed. The ship shuddered violently, another hull breach. Zyra looked at the tactical display: no rescue ships in range, no habitable systems within reach. The reactor would fail long before she could reach safety. This was it, the end. She touched the medallion at her throat, the symbol of her rank and everything she had believed in. With trembling fingers, she ripped it off and threw it across the bridge. 20 years of service, of loyalty, of believing in the righteousness of her people's empire. All lies. "Computer record final log," she said, her voice hollow. "Commander Zyra Dex, former officer of the Nexian Diplomatic Corps, let the record show that our own government murdered us to hide the truth. The humans, they're still out there, and everything we've been taught about them." A proximity alarm screamed to life. Something massive had just dropped out of hyperspace barely 1,000 kilometers away. Zyra's heart stopped as she saw its profile, a design she had only seen in classified historical archives. A human warship. "No," she breathed, "it's impossible." The vessel was enormous, its dark hull bearing strange markings and battle scars. It hung there in space like a predator, weapons ports clearly visible along its flanks. After everything that had happened, was this to be her final fate, to die at the hands of the very people her government had tried to erase from history? The communications system crackled. A transmission was cutting through the interference, broadcasting on all frequencies. Zyra closed her eyes, waiting for the death sentence from humanity's warriors. She had lost everything: her crew, her faith, her future. What difference did it make now? But the voice that came through wasn't what she expected. "Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Federation ship Redemption. We're reading critical damage to your systems and multiple hull breaches. Stand by for emergency rescue operations." Zyra's eyes snapped open. Rescue? The humans were offering rescue. Every story she had been taught, every historical account she had read, painted humans as merciless enemies who never showed quarter. "Why?" she managed to transmit back. "We're Nexian, your people's enemies." There was a pause before the human captain responded, his voice firm but not unkind. "Because that's not who we are, never was. Prepare for emergency docking. We're bringing you home." As the massive human ship moved closer, extending rescue pods and tractor beams, Zyra watched in stunned disbelief. She had lost all hope, lost faith in everything she had ever believed. And now, in her darkest moment, humanity, the supposed monsters of her people's history, were acting with a compassion that her own government had failed to show. The bitter irony of it made her laugh, even as tears streamed down her face. The computer was right. In 3 hours, her ship would be dead. But thanks to an act of unexpected humanity, she would not die with it. The medical bay of the Earth Federation ship Redemption hummed with unfamiliar technology. Commander Zyra Dex lay on the examination bed, watching as human doctors worked to heal her wounds. Their efficiency was remarkable, their equipment far more advanced than anything she had seen in the Nexian Empire. Your crystalline blood structure is fascinating, Dr. Olivia Reed remarked, studying the holographic display of Zyra's internal scans. It actually enhances your healing capabilities. With our regeneration therapy, you should be fully recovered in days rather than weeks. Zyra remained silent, still processing the events of the past 12 hours. The humans had not only rescued her, but had managed to salvage the Celestial Dawn's data core before the reactor went critical. Now, the ship that had been her home for 5 years was nothing but atoms scattered across space. Captain Marcus Chen entered the medical bay, his uniform bearing the distinguished marks of Earth Federation Command. Commander Dex, feeling better. "Why did you save me?" Zyra asked directly, her voice hoarse. "Your people have every reason to hate the Nexian Empire. We've spent centuries spreading lies about your extinction, painting humans as monsters." Chen pulled up a chair beside her bed. "Those lies weren't spread by you. They were spread by the same people who just tried to kill you. We've been watching the Nexian Empire for decades, waiting for the right moment to reemerge." He produced a small data crystal, its surface glowing with stored information. "Our intelligence suggests you were carrying sensitive data about ruins discovered in the Outer Rim. Care to tell me what was so important that your own government would murder a diplomatic vessel?" Zyra's silver skin rippled with emotion, a trait of her species she couldn't hide. "The ruins, they proved everything was a lie. The Great War never ended the way our history claims. Humans didn't attack our colonies, they were defending them." She sat up, ignoring the pain in her side. "The markings we found, they showed human military units evacuating Nexian civilians from some kind of plague. You were trying to save our people, not destroy them. But someone twisted the truth, used it to build an empire on fear and hatred of humanity." Chen nodded grimly. "The Nexian plague of 2547, we called it Operation Sanctuary. While your government collapsed from internal power struggles, we established safe zones for your civilians. But when the new regime took power, they rewrote history," Zyra finished. "Painted humans as genocidal invaders who had to be defeated, built the entire Nexian Empire on the foundation of that lie." Her hands clenched into fists. "Everyone I served with, everyone who died on my ship, we all believed we were protecting our people from the human threat." The medical bay's door slid open as Lieutenant Commander James Wu entered, his expression urgent. "Captain, we're picking up Nexian warships on long-range scanners. They're searching the debris field." "Looking for survivors," Zyra said bitterly, "or rather looking to ensure there are none." Chen stood, his posture shifting to alert readiness. "They can't know we're here. The Federation isn't ready for open conflict, not yet. We need more time to expose the truth." "The truth," Zyra laughed darkly. "The truth died with my crew. All the evidence we gathered, all the proof of the Empire's lies, it was destroyed with the Celestial Dawn." "Not all of it," Dr. Reed interjected, tapping commands into her medical console. A hologram appeared above Zyra's bed, a full neural scan of her brain. "Your species' crystalline biology doesn't just affect your blood. Your memories are stored in crystal-like structures, perfect recordings that can't be altered or erased." Zyra's eyes widened. "Everything I saw in those ruins is preserved in your mind," Chen finished. "With your permission, we can extract those memories, create an undeniable record of what really happened centuries ago." The implications hit Zyra like a physical blow. She could expose the lies, reveal the truth to her people. But the cost? The Empire will brand me a traitor. Everything I am, everything I've worked for, will be sacrificed for something greater, Chen said quietly. "The question is, are you willing to lose everything you have left to show your people who their real enemies are?" Before Zyra could respond, the ship's AI broke in with an urgent alert. "Captain, Nexian warships adjusting course. They've detected our engine signature." "How many?" Chen demanded. "3 Dreadnought-class vessels launching fighter squadrons." Zyra felt her heart sink. Dreadnoughts were the Empire's most powerful warships, each carrying enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. The humans had saved her only to face destruction themselves. "We have to run," she said. "Even your advanced ship can't handle 3 dreadnoughts." But Chen smiled, an expression that confused her. Actually, Commander Dex, running isn't part of today's plan. He tapped his command badge. All hands battle stations, initiate protocol revelation. The Redemption's lights dimmed as power diverted to its combat systems. Through the medical bay's viewport, Zyra watched in astonishment as the seemingly empty space around them shimmered. One by one, massive ships dropped their stealth fields. An entire human battle fleet had been hiding in plain sight. "Welcome to the Resistance, Commander Dex," Chen said, extending his hand to her. "Ready to help us rewrite some history?" Zyra looked at his offered hand, then at the approaching Nexian warships. She had lost everything she believed in, but here was a chance to fight for something true, something real. She took his hand. "Make it hurt," she said. Space erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire as the Nexian dreadnoughts engaged the revealed human fleet. Commander Zyra Dex stood on the bridge of the Redemption, watching her former allies attack with the ferocity she had once admired. But now, she saw their actions for what they truly were: desperate attempts to maintain a lie that had lasted centuries. "Enemy vessels launching mass driver torpedoes," Lieutenant Commander Wu reported. "They're targeting our support ships first." Captain Chen's voice remained steady. "Standard Imperial tactics: eliminate the weak, then focus on the strong. Deploy countermeasures. All ships execute pattern Delta." The human fleet moved with breathtaking coordination, their ships flowing into new formations like liquid metal. Zyra had never seen such precision. The Nexian military prided itself on overwhelming force, but this was art. "Your ships," she said, unable to hide her amazement. "They're not just advanced, they're something entirely new." "Adaptive neural link systems," Chen explained as he coordinated the battle. "The ships learn and respond as one organism, technology we developed while hiding from your empire's expansion." A massive explosion lit up the viewport as one of the Nexian torpedoes found its mark. But instead of destroying its target, the human vessel seemed to absorb the impact, its hull rippling with strange energy. "Quantum displacement shields," Dr. Reed explained, now manning a tactical station. "We don't just block attacks, we redirect their energy." The battle continued to unfold, but something wasn't right. Zyra's military training screamed warnings at her. "These tactics, they're too aggressive for a standard search and destroy mission. The dreadnoughts are fighting like they're desperate." Chen glanced at her. "What are you thinking?" "They're not just trying to kill survivors," she realized. "They're buying time, but for what?" As if in answer to her question, new alerts blared across the bridge. Wu's face paled as he read the incoming data. "Captain, massive quantum signatures detected. Multiple Empire vessels emerging from hyperspace. It's the entire Second Fleet." The space around them erupted with brilliant flashes as over 30 Nexian warships materialized, led by a vessel that made Zyra's blood run cold. The Immortal Dawn flagship of Grand Admiral Thex, the very architect of the Empire's anti-human propaganda. "All this firepower for one diplomatic vessel," Chen mused. "They must really want to keep those ruins secret." The Immortal Dawn's communication systems activated, broadcasting on all frequencies. A face appeared on the main screen, the scaled, aristocratic features of Grand Admiral Thex himself, his golden eyes burning with zealous purpose. "This is Grand Admiral Thex of the Nexian Empire," he announced, his voice dripping with authority. "To the human vessels who dare violate our space, surrender now and we may show mercy. Continue to resist and we will finish what we started centuries ago." Chen stepped forward, his own expression hardening. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Federation. We know the truth about the Plague, Admiral, about Operation Sanctuary, about how your regime twisted our aid into a weapon against us." "Truth?" Thex laughed. "Truth is what the victors declare it to be, and we have spent centuries ensuring our truth would prevail." His eyes fixed on Zyra. "Commander Dex, I'm disappointed. Consorting with humanity's remnants, your family has served the Empire faithfully for generations." Zyra felt every eye on the bridge turn to her. This was the moment, her last chance to cling to her old life, to the comfortable lies she had been raised with. Instead, she stepped forward. "My family served truth and justice," she declared. "Not the lies you built an empire on. I've seen the ruins. I know what really happened during the Plague years. Humanity tried to save us, and you turned their mercy into a foundation for hatred." Thex's expression darkened. "Then you will die with them. All ships open fire, erase this human fleet and every trace of their existence." Let them be a legend again, a horror story to keep our children obedient. The space between the fleets lit up with weapon fire, but Chen remained eerily calm. Commander Dex, would you say the Admiral is fully committed to this attack? Completely, she answered. He's brought enough firepower to destroy a small system. Why? A small smile crossed Chen's face. Because sometimes the best way to expose a lie is to let your enemy think they're winning. He tapped his command console. All ships execute Protocol Genesis. The human fleet suddenly began to move in perfect synchronization, their formations shifting into a complex geometric pattern. Energy began to flow between their ships, creating a web of light that seemed to twist the very fabric of space. "What are you doing?" Zyra asked, watching in awe as reality itself seemed to bend around them. "Showing your people the truth," Chen replied. "The ruins weren't the only evidence we preserved. We kept everything: records, videos, genetic samples from the plague victims we tried to save. For centuries, we've waited for the right moment to reveal it all." The energy web suddenly pulsed, and massive holographic displays began to appear throughout the battlefield, perfect reconstructions of history itself. Nexian civilians being evacuated by human ships. Human doctors treating plague victims. The corrupt officials who would later form the Empire, ordering attacks on their own people to seize power. "Impossible," Thex roared. "All ships destroy those projections." But it was too late. The human fleet had broadcast the images to every ship in range, every colony within light years. Centuries of carefully maintained lies were unraveling in minutes. Zyra watched as confusion spread through the Nexian fleet. Some ships stopped firing. Others turned their sensors to full power, desperately analyzing the historical footage for signs of falsification. But she knew they would find none. "The truth," Chen said quietly, "has a way of surviving, no matter how deep you try to bury it." The battle hung in balance as two versions of history collided in the void of space. And Zyra Dex, who had lost everything she believed in, found herself at the center of a moment that would reshape galaxies. Chaos erupted across the battlefield as the truth of history played out in massive holograms. Grand Admiral Thex's voice boomed across all channels, desperate to maintain control. "These are fabrications, human deceptions. Open fire on all frequencies, destroy these lies." But doubt had already taken root. Commander Zyra watched as Nexian ships began breaking formation, their crews struggling with centuries of propaganda crumbling before their eyes. On multiple channels, captains were demanding explanations, questioning orders. "Your empire is breaking, Admiral," Captain Chen said calmly. "How many of your crew had family who disappeared during the plague years? How many carry stories of ancestors who vanished in quarantine zones? They're watching the truth now, watching how their own government betrayed them." Thex's response was a barrage of heavy weapons fire. The Immortal Dawn's primary cannons blazed, sending streams of destructive energy toward the Redemption. But the human vessel's quantum shields held, rippling like liquid starlight. "Multiple Nexian vessels powering down weapons," Wu reported. They're requesting access to the historical records." Dr. Reed looked up from her station. "The broadcasts are spreading. Colonial networks are picking up the signal. We're getting responses from frontier worlds, military outposts, even Central Empire territories." Zyra stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of command she had earned through years of service. "This is Commander Zyra Dex to all Nexian vessels. I've seen the truth with my own eyes. The ruins we discovered weren't just buildings, they were hospitals, emergency shelters, places where humans tried to save our people while our own leaders abandoned us." She watched as more ships broke formation, their crews choosing truth over blind obedience. But Thex wasn't finished. The Immortal Dawn's hull began to glow with building energy. "If they will not defend the Empire," Thex snarled, "then they will die with its enemies." Activating the Purifier Cannon. Horror spread across Zyra's face. "No, that weapon will destroy everything in range, including his own fleet." Chen's expression hardened. "All ships' defensive positions, prepare to." But before he could finish, something unexpected happened. 3 Nexian dreadnoughts suddenly moved between the Immortal Dawn and the human fleet. Their commanders' voices rang out clear and unified. "Admiral Thex, by the authority of the Nexian Military Code, Section 47, we relieve you of command." Thex's laugh was borderline maniacal. "You dare? I am the Empire, I am the truth." "No," came a new voice. Vice Admiral Cora, second in command of the Second Fleet, appeared on screen. Her aged features were stern with resolve. "You are the lie. I lost my entire family to the plague. We were told they died fighting human invaders, but I remember. I was a child, but I remember the human doctors who tried to save them." The purifier cannon continued charging, its energy building to catastrophic levels. Thex was beyond reason now, willing to destroy everything to maintain his version of history. "The cannon's containment field is destabilizing," Wu warned, "if it goes critical." "It'll take out half the fleet," Chen finished. "We need to stop it, but our weapons can't penetrate those shields." Zyra studied the tactical display, her military training kicking in. "No, but we don't need to penetrate them." She turned to Chen. "Your quantum displacement shields, you said they redirect energy. What if you redirected the purifier cannon's own power back at it?" Understanding dawned in Chen's eyes. "It would overload their systems, but we'd have to get extremely close. One mistake and we'd be vaporized." "Then we better not make any mistakes," Zyra said. "Let me help. I know Imperial shield configurations." Chen nodded, and together they began coordinating the most dangerous maneuver either had attempted. The Redemption moved forward, its shields reconfiguring to Chen's commands, while Zyra provided targeting data on the Immortal Dawn's weakest points. "All power to forward shields," Chen ordered. "Helm, take us in. Commander Dex will need perfect timing." The Redemption accelerated toward the massive Imperial flagship, dodging desperate weapons fire. Around them, both human and Nexian ships watched in stunned silence as the smaller vessel charged toward certain death. "Purifier cannon at 90%, Wu called out. "Firing sequence initiating." Zyra's fingers flew across the tactical console, making minute adjustments. Shields reconfigured, impact point plotted. The Immortal Dawn's weapon reached full power, its energies distorting space itself. Thex's voice rang out one final time, "For the Empire." The purifier cannon fired, its beam of pure destruction racing toward the Redemption. But at the last possible moment, the human ship's quantum shields activated. The energy hit them at precisely the right angle, caught in a web of redirecting forces. "Hold together," Chen whispered to his ship. For a moment, the Redemption was engulfed in blinding light as it channeled the massive energy of the purifier cannon. Then, with a surge of power that made reality itself shudder, the beam reflected back at its source. The Immortal Dawn's shields collapsed under its own weapon's power. Secondary explosions chained through its massive hull as overloaded systems detonated. The mighty flagship of the Empire began to break apart, its destruction a fitting metaphor for the lies it had defended. As emergency pods launched from the dying vessel, Zyra watched the remnants of her old life burn away. But unlike before, this destruction didn't fill her with despair. Because this time, something new was being built from the ashes. "All Nexian vessels," she broadcast. "The Empire's lies die with that ship. It's time to learn who we really are and who humanity really is." The battlefield fell silent as former enemies looked at each other across the void, seeing each other clearly for the first time in centuries. 3 days after the battle, Commander Zyra Dex stood in the Grand Assembly Chamber of the Nexian Central Colony. The vast hall was filled with representatives from both human and Nexian worlds, gathered to witness something unprecedented: the truth. The holographic displays that had revealed history during the battle now filled the chamber's central space, showing detailed records of Operation Sanctuary. But this time, they also showed something new: the faces of survivors, elderly Nexians who had been children during the plague years, stepping forward to share their memories. "I remember their kindness," an aged Nexian woman testified, her voice trembling. "The human doctor who stayed with my family even when the quarantine shields were failing. She died trying to save us, yet our children were taught that humans were monsters." Captain Chen stood beside Zyra, both of them watching as 3 centuries of hatred began to unravel. The remaining Imperial loyalists had attempted to dismiss the evidence, but they couldn't fight the flood of personal testimonies now pouring in from across Nexian space. "Your people are taking this better than we expected," Chen remarked quietly. Zyra's silver skin rippled with a mix of emotions. "We're scientists and explorers at heart. That's what the Empire tried to make us forget. Truth matters more than pride." The chamber's attention turned to a new speaker, Vice Admiral Cora, now acting head of the Nexian fleet. Her voice carried the weight of authority and personal pain. For centuries, we built our society on fear of humanity, she declared. We told ourselves we were victims who had triumphed over monsters, but we were the ones who twisted a hand of help into a fist of hate. Today, that ends. A murmur ran through the assembly as Cora gestured to the human delegation. The Earth Federation didn't emerge from hiding to seek revenge. They came back to finish what they started 300 years ago to help us. Even after everything we did, they still chose to help. Dr. Reed, who had joined them in the chamber, checked her data pad. The plague archives we preserved are already helping develop new treatments for modern variants. 3 centuries of medical advancement shared freely. And that's just the beginning, Chen added. Our ships, our technology, our knowledge, it was never meant to be used against you. It was developed to explore, to build, to heal. Zyra watched as human and Nexian scientists began sharing data, military officers exchanged tactical information, and diplomats drafted new accords. The very people she had once been taught to fear were now working openly with her kind, showing a level of trust that humbled her. But something still troubled her. There will be resistance, she said. Centuries of hatred don't disappear in a day, some will cling to the old lies. Of course, Chen agreed. That's why what happens next is so important. He nodded toward the chamber's main platform. They're ready for you. Zyra took a deep breath and walked to the platform. As she faced the assembled representatives of 2 civilizations, she saw not just aliens and humans, but people, all of them carrying the weight of a history built on lies, all of them hoping for something better. 3 days ago, I lost everything I believed in, she began. My ship, my crew, my faith in the Empire, all destroyed. I thought hope itself had died. But in that moment of despair, I learned something profound about humanity and about ourselves. The chamber fell silent as she continued. We called them monsters, yet they saved us. We taught our children to hate them, yet they answered our distress call. We tried to kill them, yet they showed us mercy. That is true strength, not the power to destroy, but the courage to help even those who fear you. She gestured to the historical displays still floating in the chamber. These records show more than just the truth about the plague years. They show us who we could have been and who we can still become. The Empire taught us that strength comes from fear. Humanity showed us that real power comes from compassion. A low murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. Zyra saw heads nodding, saw ancient enemies beginning to look at each other with new eyes. I stand before you as someone who lost everything, she said, her voice growing stronger. But in losing what I believed, I found something greater, the truth. And the truth is this: we are better together than we ever were apart. The chamber erupted in applause, not the polite acknowledgement of diplomats, but the genuine response of people ready for change. As Zyra stepped down from the platform, she saw human and Nexian representatives already forming working groups, planning joint ventures, laying the groundwork for a shared future. Chen met her at the bottom of the steps. Impressive speech, ready to help build this new alliance. Zyra looked around the chamber one last time. She saw hope in every face, determination in every gesture. The lies that had shaped her world were gone, burned away like morning mist. In their place stood something she had never expected to find: a future built on truth, strengthened by diversity, and guided by the very humanity she had once feared. Yes, she said, feeling truly confident for the first time since her rescue. I lost everything I believed in, but I found something better, something real. And this time we build it together. As she walked with Chen toward a group of mixed human and Nexian officials, Zyra realized that sometimes losing all hope was necessary, because only then could you find something worth believing in. And sometimes, the most unexpected act of humanity wasn't just saving a life, it was changing the course of history itself.